Well, good morning and welcome to Daily Connect. I'm Russ Duncan. I'm the Vicky here at Holy Trinity in Hampton. And we continue with our exploration of the prophets of the Bible. Yesterday, we looked at the prophet Abraham, who was actually identified in a discussion between God and Abimelech. And we saw that the prophets themselves were those that provided communication of God's words through to the people that he wanted them to have contact with. Today, we're looking at probably the prophet that is most recognized within the Bible itself, and that is Moses. Now, Moses, of course, had a very interesting upbringing. He was born to Jewish people, but in a foreign land in Egypt. And instead of being condemned to death as a baby, when Pharaoh decreed that all the Hebrew babies be put to the stick because of his concerns about them growing up and rising up against the Egyptian people, Moses was actually placed on a bed of reeds and sent down the river and was picked up and adopted by the daughter of Pharaoh. He was then raised in a privileged position within Pharaoh's household, and as he grew into a young man, he took on more responsibility within the Egyptian kingdom. Part of what went wrong for Moses was that he became aware of the injustices of how the Hebrews were being treated. He also found out that he was a Hebrew, and anyway, he took one of the guards to task and killed him. It then meant that he had to leave Egypt, otherwise he would be killed himself. This set about a series of events where he went into the deserts and he met a shepherd herder, and he eventually married one of his daughters. They had children, and then we see the events in terms of the calling of Moses. Moses is out tending to the sheep, and he is called by God to go over to the mountain, and there is a call to Moses in terms of what he is to do to save the people of Israel now being persecuted in Egypt itself. Moses, of course, is quite reluctant to embark on this particular journey, but he does eventually go to Egypt, leaving his family behind and then meeting up with his brother Aaron and his sister Miriam. We then see that Moses passes on the communications from God to them, and they then embark on seeking the release of the people of Israel, the Hebrews there. We see the various plagues and other events that have taken place. Of course, Moses is not necessarily happy with all of this. There's an indication within the scriptures that he had some sort of a speech impediment or was not good with words. And so he spoke with Aaron, and Aaron communicated these things to Pharaoh. Eventually, as we see, what happens is that Moses and Aaron obtain the release of God's people, and they are led out of Egypt into the desert, and they embark on their 40-year journey. In terms of prophetic leading, Moses is led by the Lord in constant communication with him over this period of time, passing on the messages. In terms of the books, of course, we move from the book of Exodus then into the other books of Numbers and Leviticus, and also Deuteronomy as well. And these tell the story of the movement of God's people, their journey through the desert. Now, of course, everything doesn't always go to plan, and there is disgruntlement in the people that have gone with Moses, the people of Israel. And we see that there is moments there, especially when Moses is commanded to go up Mount Sinai and receive the instructions from God. He receives the tablets, comes back down, and the people have gone astray, including Aaron, and we see that the tablets are smashed. Again, Moses goes back up the mountain after a period of time and receives the instructions again in terms of the stone tablets, the Ten Commandments. It's interesting within the books themselves that there is a lot of information that is communicated through Moses to the people of Israel in terms of how they are to live, the do's and the don'ts, the laws of Moses are what we see eventually coming through. But Moses himself isn't always doing exactly what God has said, and he falters. And as a result of this, Moses himself goes down a path that we have seen in later prophets as well, where he is denied the opportunity of fulfilling the mission that he was asked to do by God because of his disobedience. So we see that on the fringe of going across the River Jordan into the land of milk and honey that had been promised by God to his people through Abraham, that Moses there is denied permission to go across the Jordan, and he actually passes away on the mountainside prior to this. Moses, throughout Jewish history, is considered probably the father of all the prophets. He is certainly one of the most preeminent leaders of this nation, and it sets the tone in terms of the leading of God's people through this prophetic manner. And as we will see, this continues on God's relationship with his people. God bless. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.